Hello and welcome to Health Fitness Redefined. I'm your host, Anthony Amen. Join me today as we take a dive into the health of fitness where we learn overcome adversity, break back versus fiction, and see health and fitness in a whole new light. You guys may or may not know that we are doing some reruns just through the holidays. Some best listened to episodes will be coming out through Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. And I'm taking the week off. So I hope all of you appreciate those episodes. Please leave comments below. Anthony, this is awesome. Keep doing this because these were buried. Or, hey, no, I don't want to listen to these episodes that you put out 3 years ago. Your podcasting back then was atrocious. No, but seriously, hope you guys take a listen to those and let us know. So without further ado, we're going to welcome to today's show our guest, Phil. Phil, it's a pleasure having you on today.
Hey, Anthony, so much. Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here after this much time. Finally getting our schedules aligned.
We've been meaning to do this episode for months. But we're here. So
we're both busy and we finally made it happen.
Yeah, it's called Trainer Life. And I love having fellow personal trainers on, people that live, breathe in the industry. It makes it an easy conversation for everybody. And I like the average training for the rest of us kind of phenomenon, because that's how I always pitched you guys in the show. But Phil made it express importance, like, hey, this is what I want to get across. So I'm really excited to do this episode. But without further ado, let everybody know why you became a trainer in the first place and give us a little backstory.
Totally. So I'm originally from Montreal, from Canada. And it's kind of something that half of it I joke is like the nurture versus nature debate, right? So that's kind of me too. My whole family are super healthy. I grew up healthy, cooking homemade meals, going to the gym. My parents were both fitness buffs, but when I was 3, I got diagnosed with leukemia. So I actually had childhood cancer for 5 years and then beat that. But I was like an 8-year-old who could tell you everything about every blood test and chemotherapy and lumbar punctures and what methotrexate is and, L-asparagine. So I knew all about my body and I saw my parents being healthy. And it just kind of was always something talked about: water skiing and snowboarding and skateboarding and jogging and lifting weights. So I'm super grateful I grew up in that environment. And then, unfortunately, when I was 11, my father, again, the healthiest guy, never drank, never smoked. We grew up Mormon, actually. I'm no longer practicing, but all that to say, like, couldn't have picked a healthier guy. And then he got lung cancer and passed away shortly thereafter. So my whole family kind of just doubled down on being even healthier. And we kind of realized nothing is guaranteed, even if you're doing it right, but you give yourself the best shot. And he was able to way outlive the diagnosis. They said it's terminal, it's stage 4, there's nothing we can do. And he lasted way longer than they gave him because he was so healthy. And I've kind of run into that cancer beast a few more times, but basically my whole life I've worked out, eaten healthy. I was the teenager training all my other friends. And in Canada, you couldn't really get protein at the time or like any supplements. So we'd order them to New York and drive across the border. And I was like hustling supplements.
Oh my God, that's hysterical.
Yeah. So we kind of made it this thing, but I just loved it. And I looked up, I'm the baby. So I looked up to my older siblings and my older brother. He started bodybuilding. So it kind of just was what my family did. And then it became my first part-time job, but I never really thought it was like a real job or a career. And I was going to school and getting degrees and paying for other jobs. And then I got my MBA, and I'd been training the entire time legally since I was 18. But at 25, after grad school, 3 weeks at a real job, I was like, oh, I hate this. I hate this. And so I moved to LA with my wife and 3 kids. I was like, I'm going all in, and went all in on training. It's been over 10 years since that decision and 18 years almost training. And I've never looked back. It's been amazing.
That's exciting, man. So you're working in LA, so you could tag yourself as like a celebrity trainer. So kind of give us a little insight what that means.
Yeah, well, it's funny because like training for the rest of us, and then you're like, hey, wait, Phil, trainer, celebrity trainer. And so I've kind of come 180. So my goal initially, and to be fair, I think sometimes people shy away from financial gain. I was married very young at 21. I had 3 kids and an MBA by 25. So for me, it was not an option to not make money. I had to put a roof over our head and pay. So for me, celebrity trainer and train rich people, that's the reality. It is what it is. I went out, I'm going to make it. And I did. And I was able to write a book about it. And I was on KTLA News and training celebrities and whatnot. And it was fun. And I loved it. And it did pay the bills. But after a couple years, I started realizing, okay, this is fun. And to be fair, it did give me clout and it did help my whole career. And I regret nothing. And I'm still great friends. Celebrities are just normal people too, right? But I realized, oh man, I don't care about helping somebody get a six pack for a show. I got into this because of cancer in my family. I got into this because I wanted to help people. And my whole mantra is how to have people have a healthy, happy life. And also bodybuilding. I intimately knew people competing, and the peptides and the steroids and the hormones and the body dysmorphia, and all of it was so present in Los Angeles. And I'm like, I don't want my kids being this. And I was starting to get sucked into it, and I don't want to be part of this. So I kind of got lost a little bit. And then I refocused everything on no. I want to make people healthy and happy. So yeah, I'll still take celebrity clients and things when they come, but my bread and butter now are working with real people who have pretty lofty goals that they want life changes, whether it's gaining muscle or dramatic body fat loss. Like I work with people online or in person who are like, I want an expert and I'm committed. And so I take that focus that I put to the celebrities on people who are like, I want something meaningful. And then for me, it's also a lot more fulfilling. So I kind of did the whole 180 and made it back to where I started. Great, gratefully to get back there and not get lost too long.
That's the way to do it, man. You realize like reassess your mission of what you're looking to do and accomplish and set yourself up right. So I guess my first question is, what is training for the rest of us? What do you think that means?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think kind of you and I were talking before we started the podcast, but it's podcasts just like this, or the sensationalized media and the social media and the TikTok bites, and it's seeing you should be doing this crazy zone 5 thing, or you should be doing this very specific type of rucking, and this, and like everything's optimization culture, like what's the best and the most efficient, and like pushing. And I'm always looking at these guys like, I'm a really healthy person who's done this for a living and I'm an expert. Like, do you have no jobs or children, or do you have 7 hours a day? Like, how are they doing? Their checklist is 100 things long to be a healthy person. And it's actually not that hard. And you don't need to buy anything fancy, and you don't need to eat some special food at 10,000 feet elevation blessed by a monk. Like, there's also nothing wrong with all of that. But my average everyday person just needs to make good habits, like drink less sugar, drink less caffeine, drink less alcohol, go to sleep earlier, wake up earlier, do some strength training 3, 4 days a week, do some cardio every day. Yes, walking's cardio. You don't have to jog if you hate it, but training for the rest of us is, how can I be a healthy, above average person? Because average is now sadly a quite terrible state of health in the world we live in. Average today means you're overweight, under muscled, you have a metabolic disease, you probably have a mental health disease. And not a knock against any of these things, but these are things that we actually can prevent or reverse by taking care of our bodies and health. So that's kind of the way that I've treated it now, is training for the rest of us is, let's not worry about the 1%. Let's worry about that foundation. Are we moving? Do we feel happy? Do we feel healthy? Do we get out without pain? Can we do push-ups? Can we squat our body weight? Can we bench our body weight? Can we be running around in our 40s picking up kids? Like, can you be a functional, happy human and not get life beating you down? That's kind of my approach.
Yeah, and I love that. And something you mentioned that kind of resonated with me. My brain's like, oh yeah, that's true. You don't look up protein shakes. You look up what's the best protein shake. You don't look up glute exercises. You're like, what's the best glute exercise? All right, I'm going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And we just get obsessed with finding the best thing when realistically it's more just create movement. Let's start there.
Make it a standard. So a lot of times when I work with my clients, especially online clients, because I'm not seeing them and I'm not assessing everything, and I'll write them a plan, and then they'll send me a DM or an email, or they'll call me even. Hey, I see what you wrote here, but I was just listening to XYZ podcast and they said this is better. Or what about stretch mediated hypertrophy? Or what about partial reps? The new study I saw from this guy said that. Oh, I'm like, okay, you're not wrong, and they're not wrong. And they have 3 PhDs to my name. I'm not saying that. But I'm an expert in getting people to do the thing. I'm like, have you done it? Can you keep it up? No. Like, let's first master 3 months, let alone 3 years of getting you the body and the health and the standards and the habits you want. And then we'll get there. And so often people are starting at the end of the race instead of at the beginning, and they're sprinting that last mile of the marathon, so to speak. I'm like, you didn't do the first 25. There's no shortcut to getting there. Let's work out 3 days a week. There's certain metrics. I literally have metrics for my clients. I'm like, look, if you can't bench your body weight or squat or deadlift 1.5 times your body weight if you can't do a few chin-ups. Like I have certain measurements where I'm like, nah, don't even ask me that question until we get you here. And then let's start to get to the advanced stuff. Let's do bulk and cut, and let's explain that, or let's talk about creatine. Like I'm okay with all of the things, but let's graduate it. Let's get you there. Let's first make sure you're a person who brushing your teeth is the same type of habit as working out, right? Until you're there, you don't need to worry about the other fancy stuff.
Yeah, and this is why we talk about habits a lot on the show. It's a great example is someone's drinking 5 cans of soda a week, right? I'm not going to sit here and say, okay, cut it out all by Monday.
Yeah.
Like, let's get it to 4.
Yep.
Simple.
Mm-hmm.
Let's create actionable steps for you to accomplish to start moving in the right direction, because doing something is better than nothing. And I always use the example, let's walk to the mailbox and back every day.
I love that. I'd say
7 days a week.
Yep. And so many times too, I'll have clients like super busy, like we have a never miss 2 in a day rule. And like, I'm busy, I'm still traveling. I'm like, okay, well, here's what you can do. And I'll text them. You can do 10 squats, 10 push-ups, and a 30-second plank, 3 rounds of that. Cool. All right, you did a 10-minute workout. It's infinitely better than having done 0. If you do that 50 times over the course of the year, that's hours of working out you did. And it's cumulative. We think, or we like to think, in buckets and in small time and like this day and that day, but it's all cumulative, right? You don't see the changes every day, but it's over the course of a whole year, 2 years, 3 years. So those little 5, 10, 15-minute workouts you just thought were throwaway workouts, well, that's probably 50, 60 workouts a year that would have been total zeros. That's the same as like saving $5, $10 thinking it's nothing. You add that up, it's a couple $1,000 by the end of the year. And it's not going to buy you a house, no, but it might get you a vacation. It might get you half your car loan paid off, like whatever the case is. The all or nothing mentality, I think, in this optimization culture really eats at a lot of people. They're like, well, I'm not even going to start it if I can't finish it. That's the worst place you can be. Just absolutely start and just do it, whatever you can, and we'll figure out how to add more and more and more later.
Yeah, so I guess the best question is, what's the first step for a person listening to the show that's saying to themselves, great, and I'm hearing 100 people talk about podcasts, I hear this. It's like, I'm overwhelmed. Like, what's number one simple solution somebody should do now?
So absolutely right now, the first thing you can do is take your hand, put a pen or pencil in it, and physically write down on a piece of paper a workout schedule for the week. I'm not saying write your own workout down, because you might not know that. You might not be a trainer, but studies show that physically writing things down, it's kind of the same thing with like if you just put it in your calendar app. Again, that's better than nothing. If you're not a write it down person and you're like, you know what, that sounds great, Phil, I'm not going to do it. Okay, I digress. Put it in your calendar. But if you physically write it down, same thing I tell my clients. I like them to track their workouts with pen and paper in the gym. 1, it's proven they're 4 times more likely to remember it. 2, they're not going to get stuck in an Instagram loop for 5 minutes and waste their exercise time. This happens all the time. So if you don't write it down, if you don't put it in your calendar, if you don't say, I'm doing this at 7 a.m. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, write down when you're doing your workouts, you're going to find a million excuses not to do it. You're going to push it. You're going to get tired. Your wife or husband's sick. Your boyfriend needs something. Your dog needs something, right? If you put it on the calendar and you make it important and you make it real and you put it in a time slot, like it's a work meeting, you will show up. And so that's the number one habit that I've seen. I've worked with, I forget the exact number, I did calculate it, but like 16,000 hours of training and over 1,100 people I've worked with. It does not work for everyone, but the vast majority respond the most to physically writing it down, even more so than saying start tomorrow or when I hang up this phone, go do that. Like, there's all these tricks, but writing it down and putting it on your calendar makes it real.
Yeah, I'm going to add to that because that's brilliant. You pretty much nailed it right on the head. It's having it in front of you. So I don't look at my phone with the calendar things. I get notifications like, shit, I got to be somewhere in 10 minutes. That's how I live my calendar on my phone. But having a physical copy of something in front of you all the time is that constant reminder. For example, I was talking to somebody, and we're approaching the new year, so this is a great time to mention this anyway, is every January 1st, I'm doing this for the last 3 years, I don't go out New Year's Eve, go to bed early, I wake up feeling refreshed, and I track out business and personal goals. And I write them all out for January all the way to the end of December, and I print it up and I put it. It's right here. So for those that are watching, it's literally, I can read it all right now to you. But those are my goals that I see now every single day. And I'm in December, and we're still following this goal. So I made it to the last month. I'm still keeping track and following along about where I need to be because it's physically in front of me.
Yeah, that's incredible. I love that. And I truly like I love technology. I'm on my MacBook, I have an iPhone, I have whatever like I love tech. I used to code and make stuff. I was like the nerdiest teenager that also worked out. But point being, I love tech. I have nothing against it. But I think appifying and gamifying everything is taking away from like tangible. Our bodies are tactile. We have to touch something. We have to write something. And it's proven, this is not conjecture. This is not me just making something up. It's proven that if we use our hands, if we write stuff down, it's way more likely to enter our brain and be remembered and be able to be recalled. So if you're studying for a test, writing notes is proven to help you remember it and require less study time than typing it out. Now, again, if you're someone who's like, I have crappy writing, I'm not going to do it, and you literally won't write it down, then yes, typing is better than not taking notes. But like, if you can just jot it down or make the habit, writing your calendar out, you'll remember your calendar.
So I'm that person. My handwriting's horrendous, and I struggle rereading my own handwriting. So I will give tidbit for those people because this is what works for me. It sounds clinically insane, but I don't care.
Yeah,
I talk to myself out loud.
I do that too.
Brilliant.
You could do voice, and this is another thing. You can do voice memos, and I do this too. You can do voice memos on your iPhone, and you can tell yourself like the daily calendar, or here's the real trick. I use either ChatGPT or Siri or whatever, and I have it write the notes for me. Like Siri, make a note, whatever. Siri, add to my calendar. So sometimes I'll dictate it, but it's still the act of saying the words and making it real. So writing it down is more effective, but saying it out loud and then having a second copy and then reading that copy, that's 2 touch points. You've thought it, you've said it, and then now it's being written down and you review it. So each time that happens, your brain makes an imprint. So all it is repetition. That's what life is: speaking, walking, working out, running, jogging, eating, new habits, killing old habits. Everything's repetition. So I have learned with 4 kids, 6 animals, and 3 businesses that like efficiency is everything. And I was not a calendar guy. I played video games, ate pizza, was a skateboard kid that played drums, and then like when I realized I had these goals, I could wing it for a long time until I couldn't wing it anymore. And then my body started breaking down because I wasn't sleeping. I got kidney stones at 30. When COVID came around, I got long COVID. Like in the last 3 years, I have sharpened up my schedule and I've become a planner that I never was. And there was like this aha, come to Jesus moment. Like, fuck. They were right. I naysayed them forever and they were right. And I hated learning it. And now here I'm on the other side, and now I'm preaching the same thing as I used to be like, those bozos, what are they talking about? But man, you get so much more done and it's so much less stressful when you have structure that that was the only hack. I wish I could have told myself that 10 years ago. And like getting help and investing in coaches and mentor, all the things that you think you can do without, you can't. And you're more efficient when other people help you and when you sleep better. Like it does work. And that's the main thing I've learned. And same thing for training. Get coaches, get a trainer. That's a shortcut. Get an accountability buddy. Like trying to do it on your own, I'm not saying you can't do it. You can do it, but it will take you more time and you'll get worse results. Like why stall? Why wait?
No, I couldn't agree more. LeBron James has a basketball coach. Just leave it at that, right?
That's all you need to know.
Yeah, that's all you need to know. The coach isn't better than him, but he's good at keeping him accountable.
Absolutely.
So I do love that. Speaking of keeping accountable, guys, we're just going to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, F Squared Consulting. It is a company that Keith and I came together and we said, hey, look, listen, entrepreneurs worry about their business, and the 2 things they don't worry about in their personal lives is their health and their wealth. They don't care about whether they're working out, they're not going to the gym, they're not eating right, they're falling behind and all that. So I come in and help get that all organized for you on a schedule, keeping you accountable and making sure you're following through. Then Keith comes in the end and helps with your own personal financing, teaching you how to invest, where to invest, what to do, how to look at your money so you're not falling behind. Because if you lose those 2 things, you're going to go out of business. Let's be real. You get burned out. We've mentioned it many times in the show. We don't want that. We want to make sure we take care of your personal life. And both of those things are perfectly together, and not enough people talk about the importance of health and wealth. So that's why we created S Squared Consulting, fitness and financial freedom. Go check it out. FitBodiesFatWallets.com. It is FitBodiesFatWallets.com for listeners. Mention the show and you'll get 10% off. Moving on, I do love how we're both on the same page with tangibility. Like, that's huge. It's kind of shows for those listening, hey, look, listen, this is something simple. So right now, take 3 seconds and write something down that you're looking to do this week. Or if you're me, talk to yourself or record a voice memo or something. Because if you write it, you're never going to read it because you're like, what the heck does that say? So
Right.
Definitely important. And I guess just moving on to how do I get healthier? What's a first step for somebody beyond that, right? So they wrote down, I'm going to work out Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but I don't know how to work out, Phil. I've never been to a gym before. I'm intimidated by the people around me. Everyone's going to think that, who's this guy coming to the gym? He can only lift a 1-pound dumbbell. How do you talk to this person?
I mean, that's everybody's fear. And the first thing to know is that we see on TikTok or social media, you always see like the bullies, and that's real. That's real. But those are the outliers. Those are not the rules. Generally speaking, the gym is a very, very supportive place. And I can't tell you how many times when I was started working out when I was a teenager, people, hey buddy, you're doing great. Like, can I show you this or helpful? Very respectfully. I have done it so many times to the people in in an asking, non-creepy way. But like, first of all, the most likely scenario is that no one cares because they're doing their own thing and they're actually not looking at you. And second of all, if they are, they're more likely to see if you need help than to ever criticize you. That's so unlikely to happen. But again, that's still sometimes okay, well, but I think, and they worry and the anxiety is there. You can start at home. My biggest thing that I like everyone to do, start walking every day. Right now, if you're not walking at least 30 minutes a day, it's probably a big ask to say, hey, here's a 4-day-a-week workout, go lift heavy weights in the gym. You've never done that. So I require all of my clients in person and online to walk 30 minutes a day. I would love for it to be all at once, but if that's not possible, walk to the mailbox, do whatever, walk your dog. Like, it can be cumulative. And then once you start there, all right, let's add in 3 20-minute workouts a week. So I'll start people off at home. Just get one set of dumbbells and one bench, and that would be ideal. There's nothing wrong with body weight stuff, but in my experience, if someone's really, really weak or someone's really overweight, body weight stuff, a lot of people go to calisthenics because they think you don't need anything, it's easier. It's my professional opinion that for really skinny, out of shape, weak people or really overweight people, body weight stuff is actually difficult. And sometimes they can get more injured. If they're trying to do tricep dips and they're too heavy, they're going to bust a shoulder. If they're trying to do planks and something gives out, right? So I say that with a grain of salt, but for a lot of people, starting with weights is actually a lot easier. And there are free resources everywhere. I'm sure you have them. I have them. YouTube has them. How to do a dumbbell curl, a bench press, start with 10 pounds. There are free programs everywhere. I offer free programs. I offer training online. Like, there's so many resources, but starting at home is completely possible. I've had many, many clients lose 50 plus pounds without ever leaving their house, never going to a gym. Nutrition is everything. So if you're just eating and walking and that's all you do for 3 months, you can melt off 20 pounds, 30 pounds in 3 months, and then you're going to feel better. Then you're going to want to take it to the next level. So instead of getting overwhelmed and shooting for the stars, right? Sometimes you're like, shoot for the stars and you land on the moon. I think sometimes that is actually too intimidating. It's like, shoot to get down the street and you'll probably actually get down the street. And then next time, go down the block. And next time, walk to get your groceries and back 2 miles each way, right? There's little things. And when you check off a small goal, you get an endorphin rush, you get a dopamine release. And then you set a bigger goal and a bigger goal. And it's my experience that people hitting goals that are attainable, but push them and then stretching that out over time sees way more success and, most importantly, more longevity. They'll keep it up. Tons of people lose a bunch of weight and gain it back when they do these crash things. The easiest way to tell it is if you start a program and by the end of week 2, you hate it and everyone around you and you want it to be over, that's not the right program. Sure, you'll lose a bunch of weight in 3 months, but then you'll gain it back. It should be that by every week after week 2, week 3, week 4, you should be feeling better. You should not be feeling worse. And that's the easiest way to know if you should run from a fad diet or crazy program.
Oh, yeah, couldn't agree more. There were so many things in that I want to kind of pick out. I'm going to start with something I made up I call it my radius rule, and I wanted to get your opinion. If I talk about this too much, please tell me to shut up in the comments, and we'll move on from. But I love this, and I coined the term a radius rule. So this is the way I kind of make myself go walk, right, and help with my clients. It's okay if I'm start off really small, 0.1 miles of a place, I have to walk. I do that. I get that down for a month. Okay, if I'm in half a mile of a place, I can't drive, I have to walk. They get that down. Then I go 0.6 and 0.7 and up to eventually like a mile. If I'm a mile away, obviously beat a dead horse at this, but if it's unsafe, don't walk. But anyway,
Anthony said I could walk on the highway 1 mile.
Yeah, it's snowing out across a major highway. There's people aren't looking. Yeah, at night, not a good idea. I'm wearing all black, all these bad things. So just if it's safe, do this, and you're going to be blown away how much more you walk in a year. Mm-hmm. It's mind-blowing. I'm in one of my first gym in Mount Sinai is in a huge shopping center, and I'm on one end. No joke. I've had clients tell me, and I look at them, they drive because they're parked at one end of the shopping center going to a store, and then they drive to the gym, which is in the same shopping center, and then walk into the gym and then drive out back. I'm like, if you walked there and back, you would have an extra like 10 minutes of walking. That's 5 minutes there, 5 minutes back. Those little cumulative steps.
One of the funniest things too, I have a visual, not only that, but they'll drive from one end of the shopping mall to the other end of the shopping mall, and then they'll get in the gym, and then they'll get on the treadmill to walk 10 minutes to warm up. I'm like, you could just warm up and cool. Like the walk to it and right into weights and then finish the weights and walk back would be the perfect warm up and cool down. I actually used to see a gym where that would happen all the time. I'd be like, I know for a fact you guys live down the road. Why did you walk here for a 5-minute treadmill? And then it's hilarious, but I don't think they're ever consciously doing it. It's just we're so wired to do that, and just changing that habit. And yeah, those steps add up. 2,000, 3,000 a day times 365. Like we're talking hundreds of thousands, if not millions of extra steps. That's so many calories without almost any effort.
Zero, some would say.
Yeah.
And if you're carrying something, you're doing a farmer's carry.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there you go. Calisthenics, baby. No.
How about efficiency? One other hack for walking that I've had people do, especially in this remote work culture with hybrid days and things like that. I'll tell someone, look, if you're on a Zoom call, that's different. If you're on a conference call, the level of low intensity, steady state walking that I would want you to do would be so much that you wouldn't be huffing and puffing and panting. Take your 30-minute call, your 1 minute call, 1 minute, your 1 hour call, take the whole call while you're walking. Do two things at the same time, right? In a safe area, it could be slowly on a treadmill, it could be on a walking pad, it could be around your block, but you can completely be present in a meeting because you're not exercising, huffing, puffing, panting. Like you can do that. I had 2 clients who I've had do the walking pad. They were both stay-at-home lawyers. And they're like, I'm on my computer 10 hours a day. I can't leave. One's in DC, high powered job, blah, blah, blah. Every excuse they could give me. I'm like, okay, unless you're on a video call, 10 minutes every hour, I want you on that walking pad right at your desk. You don't have to leave your desk. Boom. They went from 2,000 to 10,000 steps a day. They lost 20 pounds, worked magically for both of them. I told the company, I was like, I'm not paid by you, but I should do a commercial for you because I keep getting all these lawyers to lose weight that say they can't leave their desk. And the walking pad was saving them. It's just, there's always a way to make it happen. And people saying they don't have enough time, they just haven't got creative enough.
I got to tell you, I walk every time I'm on the phone, and that's a huge one. You ever had those long conversations, you're stuck with someone for like an hour and a half, 2 hours on the phone?
Great cardio.
I'm talking just in my house. Mm-hmm. I've clocked 30,000 steps.
Oh my God.
Because I fast walk, and they're just like...
I'll do that. So when I train, the way I have my days split, I train in person at my studio, 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. It's in one building. And I train, I train 8 people back to back. And then I finish everything, get home for my kids for after school, do everything. And then I do some night stuff at night. And it's a great little schedule I worked out for myself. But in that 6 to 2, I average about 12 to 15,000 steps, just walking around training people. So there are days where if I'm just so exhausted and I don't have the workout in me, I'm like, well, I actually don't feel that bad because I have already done 2 or 3 times the average walking just by doing my job. So like my low exercise days are still great. I got to get the strength training in, but I don't feel so bad if I don't jog or skip something or don't want to do zone 5 cardio, or again, all the fancy things I said not to worry about. Sometimes I like to do them because that's my job. I love fitness. But there's days where I'm like, no, you know what? So I feel grateful, but it can be that way for anybody. You don't just have to have a fitness job. If you're walking around pacing on the phone, if you're a busy, active person, it's so much easier and it saves you the time you don't think you have by multitasking in a way that doesn't take you away from your job or your kids or whatever
Yeah,
you
and
want.
now you have headphones that you can just plug into your ear that are wireless.
Yeah.
That your sound quality is amazing, and you can go for a walk. There, you don't have to have the cramped crap as you're like holding the phone into place and trying to walk and talk through it. And then afterwards, you're like,
cell phone with a big block and the antenna out. Hey,
yeah, those were impossible when phones recorded, and people can be like, phones recorded? Yeah. There once upon a time they were attached to a cord. You couldn't really do anything. You'd just be stuck in like this little.
so true.
I think I'm paying attention.
Yeah.
So we've gone over quite a lot of actionable steps, and I really don't want to overwhelm people, but I just want to reiterate a couple of them and then ask one more point. We've done radius rule, just adding little steps as you can go, pacing on the phone, which is huge, as long as obviously not on a Zoom call or anything like that. And we've gone over writing things down, having tangible things in front of you, like you saying just take it and write it down, or doing audio notes, or me how I have everything pasted up in front of me. It's been life changing, and that's simple. So, is there anything in the food realm, because people always ask about nutrition, that is something really simple, right to the point? Like, if you're going to change anything about your diet, change this one thing.
Yeah, I think the easiest thing to do, you can get so confused out there with keto and intermittent fasting and vegan, this and that, and there's 20 different diets. I don't restrict anything. I think that it's very, very important to be aware of what food is made up of. So, for example, frequently when I give people a meal plan, they're like, oh my gosh, this is so much more food than I'm used to eating. And yet the calories are lower. They don't understand nutrition and food density, right? So like how this much oil or something deep fried can be more calories than an entire plate of chicken and rice, or than an entire plate of oatmeal with almonds and berries. So like understanding what food is made up of. What I like to do for all my clients, or to anybody listening, I get pushback. I don't care because the data support it. If you track your food for 1 week, I don't make anybody keep tracking their food. I do not ever want anybody to become obsessive. I actively am involved in campaigns to help people with eating disorders, and I have 2 daughters. So I'm not saying to become obsessive or develop these things, but people do not know what's in food. They really just don't. Studies show that on average, people underestimate their calorie consumption by 40%. They just think that they're roughly eating 1,500 calories or 18, and they're way off. Pair that with a Fitbit or an Apple Watch that's telling you you're burning 800 calories, and it's way inaccurate. They more than double how much you're actually burning, and it's just like totally skews your day. You have people working really hard, earnestly and sincerely, and seeing no results. And it's just because they don't know what's in their food. So the easiest way to distill it is every single plate, every time you eat, you should have some sort of like fruit or vegetable. The people going and railing against the fruits, like, yeah, don't eat 7 bananas, but like have a fruit or a vegetable at your meal. Have some sort of controlled healthy fat, like a nut or a seed or a portioned olive oil or whatever, and have a protein. If you do that 3 times a day, the chances of you being over calories are so minimal if you're also moving. And then it just becomes like a factor of the obvious things. Like the first thing I cut out for everybody is like alcohol or Starbucks Frappuccinos, like drinking calories, drinking salad dressing, the killer, the enemy of all diets. You get a healthy salad. It's great. It's full of fiber, protein, seeds, grains, everything. It's probably 500 calories, 40 protein, 15 fat, 20 carbs. It's nutritious, it's healthy. You just dump 800 calories of oil. Salad dressing is the enemy. And so there's all these things that people just don't know. They think you get a salad, it's healthy. They think you get a smoothie or a juice, these 300-calorie juices, the juice culture. And then on the other end, the people starving themselves with the crazy souping for a week or detox juicing for a week, eating no food. Like, we love these extremes because they promise crazy results. But the real answer is eat 3 meals a day. I'm also not a big proponent of intermittent fasting, not because it doesn't or cannot work, but because most people just simply can't do it. And unless you have a really strict schedule that allows you to do it, here's what happens. Skip a day, intermittent fast, skip a day, eat 2 meals, like if you can't consistently do it forever, all it does is actually screw you up more than become effective. So again, I'm pushing back against all these things of like the extremism. It's like eat your breakfast, oatmeal, eggs, toast, things you know are healthy, not a toaster strudel, not a croissant, not a cappuccino with whole fat milk and chocolate in it. Like you already know the things. Lunch, eat a salad with protein, don't put salad dressing on it. Dinner, salmon, chicken, turkey, vegan, tempeh, tofu, put some vegetables with it, put some rice with it. No, do not put rice on your butter. Like, put a little bit of butter on your rice. Sometimes the proportions people have are way off. And so I would say just keep it simple. You know what's out there, you know what's healthy. If it's fried, if it's sugary, if it's bad for you, once a week, not once a day. If it's something that you want to enjoy, you can usually make it work, but it can't be daily. So yeah, I think people get so confused and overwhelmed, but nutrition really comes down to having fiber, having protein, having a balanced diet, and then you're not going to crave and binge sugar and crave
We
and
didn't we didn't prep this pre-show, right? We didn't have this conversation pre-show,
no, no,
right? There was no talking about it. We didn't sit here and agree that we're going to mention what you just said.
not at all, not one bit.
Yeah. So me telling you guys about 600 million times the two most important things are what? Protein, fiber was not planned.
There we go. See, that's how we know. Yeah, and when people do it, again, I would say that's my most common feedback is all of my online clients, especially because they're people, again, I don't see in real life. I don't get that same connectivity because I am a very tactile person. Like, oh my gosh, this seems like a lot of food, Phil. Then they eat it. They're like, wait a minute. I'm eating more food. I feel more full and I'm losing weight. What the hell is going on? Like, yeah. You have enough fiber, enough protein, you eat whole foods and not everything out of a package or deep fried. It's crazy what'll happen. You feel better and you lose weight and you gain muscle. It's like they think it's magic, but it's just the right knowledge applied properly.
I love it, man. That was the perfect segue from because you literally said the two things that I harp on
Good.
every episode. So protein and fiber. All right, Phil, I'm going to ask you the final two questions I ask everyone just to wrap this up. The first question is, if you were to summarize this episode in one or two sentences, what would be your take-home message?
My take-home message would be the old adage, which I don't even know who to attribute to, but KISS, right? Keep it simple, stupid. It does not have to be confusing. The more crazy and extreme and too good to be true something seems that it is in this realm, it is. Don't do it.
And ironically enough, we didn't prep this, right? I have a quote for every year for going into like how I want to prioritize that year and that sheet I print out. I'll read that quote. The ability to simplify means to eliminate the unnecessary so that the necessary may speak. That was my quote of the year.
Yeah, and just to remind everyone, this isn't something I'm just saying. I do it myself. I'm on the iFit platform to millions of users. This is how I train my celebrity clients. Like there's nothing magic that they're doing that you're not doing. It's just that they're doing it day in, day out, really, really consistently over time. And that's the magic. And so that's the big number one. And number two is write it down or voice note it, make it tactile, make it real, take it out of the digital and make it real that you can see or hear or write, and you will be so much more successful in your goals.
I love it. And then the second question, the simplest one of all, how can people find you, get a hold of you?
Yeah.
They want
So
to learn more.
At Trained by Phil on Instagram. I'm the most responsive on Instagram, so I'll write back to questions. I do Q&A every Monday. I do training. I do blah, blah, blah. So at Trained by Phil or trainedbyphil.com. Those are, you find me other places, but find me there and I'll get back to you right away.
I love it, Phil. Thank you for coming on. And thank you guys for listening to this week's episode of Health Fitness Redefined. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button and join us next week as we dive deeper into this ever-changing field. And remember, fitness is medicine. Until next time.